Pleasure of mine to introduce one of my heroes. Most people don't get the opportunity in their life to introduce their hero. And I met Dr. Donsbach in 1978, and I came from orthodox medical research, working for big universities and the NIH and the National Science Foundation. And to make a long story short, Dr. Donsbach was one of the most friendly and well-versed gentlemen I'd ever met. And again, I can't thank him enough for taking me under his wing all these years and being my mentor. And so without further ado, one of the greatest scientists, one of the greatest researchers we have in the alternative field, a pioneer that everybody loves, Dr. Kurt Donsbach.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ever since I've been here, people have come up to me and said, "My gosh, are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, I'm okay." For those of you who don't know, on December 17th, I had a stroke. Now, why should I have a stroke? I mean, here is a man who's been speaking to everybody about health for I don't know how many years, who's been taking 90 pills a day, and why should I have a stroke? Well, that kind of bugged the doctors too. One of the doctors who was helping me is here today, and he says, "I don't understand." The day before I took had the stroke, I took 30 anti-inflammatories, and because of that, the stroke evidently did not damage the brain too much, because there was no residual loss of motion or anything of that nature. I had a big stroke, but the comment was that probably in 1948, when I had a car accident and was very, very seriously injured, that a scar tissue from that time broke loose, and that was what was caused the stroke. That's conjecture. But I do know that 2 weeks before I had the stroke, I had a full CAT scan, and that did not, even at my advanced age, did not show atherosclerosis or arteriosclerosis, which probably would be a predecessor to some kind of stroke. I don't believe that at this time I really know what happened, but I know that I got a serious headache. I couldn't believe it. I never had a headache in my life. For 4 days, I fought the headache and couldn't do it. Finally went to the hospital, and whoever heard of a hospital being a good place to go, but I had literally no choice. At that point, I was seriously hurting, and shortly thereafter, I must have had a stroke. For 2 days I was unconscious. Doctor can tell you that the doctor said among themselves, there's just far too much damage. According to the MRI, he's not going to recover. For 2 days I was unconscious, as I say, and I woke up and I couldn't see. God, that was a terrible thing. For those of you who have not had a sight problem in your life, you might think of what it would be to close your eyes and look around. Well, I couldn't see. And a couple of things, one from my childhood: "Yea, though I walk through the valley of death, I fear not, for thou art with me." That helped me a lot. And then as I got a little stronger, I remembered Winston Churchill. He said, "If you ever walk into hell, keep on walking, because there is another side." Now, that was good, because I got to thinking that something else is going to happen. And I also remembered Linus Pauling, good friend of mine, spoke at a lot of our conventions. Linus Pauling said, you know, he and I were talking about death. He was a little older than I was, and just talking about it, and he said, you know, I'm not a very religious man, but I believe all of us were brought on this earth to do something. And unless you've completed your tasks, you really shouldn't want to leave. Now, not seeing well and not feeling too well for a while, I wasn't too sure that I wanted to live. I didn't feel good. And then all of a sudden, I got to thinking, have I finished my job? And I remembered those people who come up to me and say, Dr. Donsbach, if it hadn't been for you, my father lived 9 years after he was told he would be dead within weeks. And I thought, maybe I haven't finished my job. I thought of all those people who call me on the radio and say, I just had a person 2 days ago who said to me, Dr. Donsbach, I met you in Chicago, Illinois, and I talked to you, and I was getting ready for oral surgery. My gums are so bad, I had pockets that they labeled as number 10 pockets. It had to be operated on. And I said to that man, I said, well, maybe you do need the operation, but try my mouthwash. Just try it. And he said, 6 months later, he says, all that time I was getting better. 6 months later, I went back to the dentist and he said, what did you do? Your pockets are gone. Your mouth is clean. And all he had done was use that mouthwash. Now, I'm not telling you to use mouthwash or anything, but I'm telling you there is another answer to most problems. And today I can tell you that I feel good. I am wonderful. I am happy to be here. Excuse me?
An anti-stroke cocktail.
An anti-stroke cocktail. I probably, as I was saying in the beginning of this particular lecture, I probably was the least candidate for a stroke. And as I said, the doctor sitting right here that saw the CT scan that said, no, this is a good, for my age, the cardiovascular system is in great shape, but stroke is caused by a blood clot or, what's the other one? Scar tissue. Scar tissue that is broken loose and that then is in the circulation system and doesn't plug up. It stops rain from getting oxygen temporarily. And I had a large spot, he can tell you, he's dead or close to it. Silver dollar size spot in my brain. But because, according to him, I took so many antioxidants the day before that I had the stroke, or he thinks I had the stroke, I didn't have brain damage that normally people have. And so that's, and what do we do? A minute I got home, and I was weak, and I couldn't see well. I got on the treadmill, and I got on the body vibe. And I got on the treadmill slow 3 times a day, faster 3 times a day, faster yet 3 times a day. I'm still doing the treadmill every single day of my life because I feel good doing it. As most of you know, when you exercise, you feel better. But also because I feel at my age I should do it, and particularly since I've had a stroke. If you read up on stroke, 80% of all stroke patients have another stroke. Well, I'm not going to have another stroke. Okay? And so I'm doing everything I can to prevent it. I will be writing a book on stroke very soon. I've already started, and you might read that. But I don't know. One of the doctors I did go to see, Dr. Steenblock, gave me stem cells after the stroke, and that may have helped a great deal.